What's up, people? A Ghanaian member of parliament called Western powers, including the USA, out for threatening to impose sanctions on his country over a proposed anti-LGBT law. I'm Chibuzo Machuku. This MP, Sam George, obviously was fed up with the Western powers pushing the LGBT thing on Ghana. I roll the clips now.
Because, Mr. Speaker, like it is attributed to Robert Mugabe, if you put two men in a room and give them 12 months to produce as an offspring, they cannot produce an offspring. And so, Mr. Speaker, we will continue to stand here. But let me use this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to celebrate Mr. Speaker, who has been a stalwart and a bastion for this bill. But for Mr. Speaker, this bill would most likely have been killed. Mr. Speaker has stood his ground and ensured that this bill has come this far. And I want to use this opportunity with the support of my colleague members of parliament, since we all support this bill, to serve notice to the Western powers that we have taken judicial notice of what they have done to the Speaker of Uganda. After Uganda passed the bill, the sanctions on the Speaker of Uganda's parliament and on the sponsors of those bills, we will serve notice as well that if they replicate same with our Speaker and members of parliament, we will also take action against their business interest in our country. Because they serve in this country and make money from here and take back home. They cannot hold us to ransom. And like has been asked on this floor, Mr. Speaker, why is it that the American Secretary of State has not sanctioned the Secretary of Defense? Because June was declared Pride Month, and they had transgender parades. The US Secretary of Defense blocked and stopped a transgender parade on a US Air Force base because he said the US Pentagon, which is their defense headquarters, would not support such activity. Governor DeSantis has passed legislation against open transgender parades in Florida. Why have they not taken on their own citizens? In fact, in 2022 alone, there were 433 actions in State House of Legislatures across the United States, banning and clamping down on homosexuality. The Supreme Court of the United States, SCOTUS, just last week, passed a landmark judgment enforcing the rights of American citizens to refuse to offer services to people on the basis of their faith and because they were LGBTQ. Mr. Speaker, it shows you that even America has realized the error of their judgment and are walking back their steps. Italy in June designated June also as Family Protection Month to counter the Pride Month. Maybe that's something Ghana should begin to consider, that we make June a family values month to celebrate the Ghanaian family value. But Mr. Speaker, in wrapping up, Mr. Speaker, I just want to state that the dangers of homosexuality are grave. Persons who are homosexuals or transgenders, per statistics from the CDC, have at least 6 times higher rates of obesity, substance abuse, and suicidal thoughts than heterosexual people. This has a consequence for our health bill as a country and public health, and we cannot turn a blind eye to this. I want to thank every member of this House who has supported this journey so far, especially the committee as well, in bringing us this far. Mr. Speaker, this bill will be passed to the glory of God.
We are aware of the attacks and the threats that have been made, but like we serve notice, we're a sovereign nation, and we will stand for what is Ghanaian. And we also want to serve notice to those issuing the threats that carrying out those threats will be a high-risk enterprise here in Ghana, because we will come on the floor of Parliament, use your platforms as media houses because we know you support this bill, and publicize every business that is from that country in this country that operates in Ghana, and call on Ghanaians to boycott them. So if any government of any country thinks that they will sanction any of the sponsors of the bill or the Speaker of Parliament after this bill is passed, they should prepare to pack up and leave our country as well, because we would also instigate public outcry against their business interests in our country. If they work here, they must respect our laws. Because when we visit their countries, we respect their laws. And until we see them carry out those threats against the likes of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Ukraine, or Russia, Bahrain, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Russia and China, then they should stay off Ghana. We are committed to ensure that under the guidance of Right Honorable Speaker, we would go into the consideration. We expect the consideration stage to be a very swift one, because even though there are a number of amendments, those amendments are largely a product of agreements between the sponsors and the committee. And so there would be hardly any cantankerous debates on the subject of those amendments.
Sam George impressed me. I could be wrong, but he should be Ghana's next president. The Western powers are in absolutely no position to rule Ghana. Ghana, like the other African countries, are countries, not colonies. They are independent. What goes on in that country is absolutely no business of the West. However, my point is this: the hypocrisy of the USA, as Sam George pointed out on the clips. He mentioned before the cowardice and hypocrisy of the USA. Now, on the clips, he pointed out the hypocrisy of the USA. The US government doesn't impose sanctions on non-African countries that have anti-LGBT laws. Also, there are measures taken against LGBT activities in the US as well, such as the bills banning the so-called transgender women from taking part in women's sports, bills requiring people to use bathrooms corresponding to their biological sexes, and that so-called anti-gay law in Florida. The government does nothing about them. Now, if the federal government of the USA has no power to outlaw such laws in the country, how does it have the power to outlaw those laws in African countries? That is not right. This is hypocrisy. If the USA and the other Western powers threaten such sanctions, what can they do? Nothing but keep the LGBT money. Ghana could have gotten rid of the Western powers a while ago. But now I am impressed with plans on what to do about the Western powers should they impose such transactions. Any business in Ghana belonging to the USA that violates the law, if passed, should be forced to close for good. I'm sure that if the Ghanaian officials were in the USA, they wouldn't dare say anything about the LGBT laws here, or say anything about the violations of the rights of Black people. So why would it be a different thing with the roles reversed? The reason the US government and the other Western powers would do such things to African countries is the fact that they don't respect Black people. They would play such games on African countries and do anything to take the resources from African countries, paying little or nothing for them. That's their attitude. They treat the people of Africa the same way they would treat the rest of the African diaspora, including Blacks in their own country, America, which explains the Black Transgender Lives Matter thing. It is clear that LGBT people are recruited, not born. The Western powers are using that thing, the LGBT thing, as a weapon against Africans and the rest of the African diaspora, like those in the Caribbean countries and, of course, the African Americans. I hope that bill becomes law in Ghana. If it becomes law, then I hope the officials of Ghana stand up and the law is enforced. Share your thoughts. I would appreciate you subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching.